Contrary to popular belief, I wasn't around in the 1950s, so I can't really tell you much about my experience being a woman in that time period. So I did what every Gen Z person would do. I asked ChatGPT, the O3 version, to compare the average 26-year-old woman in the 1950s to the average 26-year-old woman now. I've got my laptop here. Let's see what it comes up with. So it gives me a bunch of data. According to my friend O3,
I would say that the average woman in the 1950s would not be wearing a top with a heart cut out on her chest. I like what she did using the images to kind of get our mind in the state of comparing these two women, but that shirt's a little anachronistic for being on an average 26-year-old woman in the 1950s. Maybe like a nice blouse with a little ruffle collar would have been more appropriate.
70 to 75% of 26-year-old women in America were already married, compared to less than 30% now. I'm gonna lie, that is a very significant drop. Although that doesn't mean, of course, that all of these women are single. They might just not be married. Children, roughly 1 to 2 kids by 26 on average in the 1950s. Now the typical 26-year-old has no children. That is no surprise to me at all. Living situation. Most live with a spouse in their own home. Now 12% of women from 25 to 34 live with their parents in 2022. Luckily, I wasn't one of those. A further 40% rents, and less than 39% under 35 owns a home. So far, it all sounds very depressing compared to the 1950s. Not gonna lie. Work and income. Only 34% of women between the ages of 25 and 34 were in the labor force in 1950. Interesting. Most full-time homemakers depended on a single male wage. Sounds like the dream. 78% of women between the age of 25 and 34 are in the labor force in 2023. And women hold 58% of college degrees. Wow. So we are actually more successful in college. And this is so funny, bottom line, no sugarcoating. I didn't even ask it to not sugarcoat things. But O3, I like your style, because sugarcoating only distracts from the truth. But the bottom line, according to my friend ChatGPT, is that 26-year-old women in the 1950s were mostly married mothers in owner-occupied suburbs, financially dependent but socially embedded in church and community. Sounds horrible to live in the 1950s. Who wants to be embedded in community? That sounds terrible. And being a mother? Sounds like a dream. But according to my friend, 26-year-old women now are mostly single, child-free renters, or boomerang kids. Better educated, earning their own income, less religious, but reporting far worse mental health despite far greater autonomy. Well, ouch. But the question remains, were women actually happier in the 1950s?
Before we get into that, just looking at the stats, the two things that really stand out to me are, first of all, we've got the birth control pill and the sexual revolution that happened, allowing women for the first time in all of human existence, which is like a really long time. For the first time ever, women are able to have sex without the fear or concern of becoming pregnant. And that is huge. Like, that is a complete game changer in how women started to act in society, because they could now be promiscuous without necessarily the consequences that were attached to promiscuity for the millennia before them. The other note that sticks out to me as a major differentiator for the 26-year-old woman of today versus the 26-year-old woman of the 1950s is the aspect of better educated. More women are going to college. More women than men are going to college. This in itself is not necessarily a problem. No problem with women going to college. Well, there are some problems actually with going to college, because going to college is a little bit of a racket. I've got another video where I talk about the 4 reasons why I am against free college. So if you are curious about that, I will link that in the top of this video and you can check it out. But my point is that women who go to college, they then get out of school and they get presumably a great job, and they are earning a a certain level of money, the notion of hypergamy is where the rubber really meets the road, and the problem of all these women increasingly going to college starts to get a little funky, because women want to, whether they admit it or not, whether they are aware of it or not, we are programmed to be hypergamous creatures, which means that we are seeking a man that is like of higher status to us. And in a world where money, power, and education are status, a college educated woman, let's say she's 26 years old, she's living in New York City, let's say she's making 80 to 100K a year at her, fancy marketing job. She's going to want a man that is making, 100 to 150, or 150 to 250 or 350. I mean, some of these women are crazy with what they are after. However, when more women are going to college and less men are going to college, there's going to be less men naturally that have these high power jobs, and thus less men for these women to then marry. Of course, the notion of hypergamy is misleading because, as I mentioned, we are counting as status to be, money and education and fancy, bougie men in suits, which may in part be because of Sex and the City. So I want to take this moment to do my little, PSA. As a college-educated woman with a master's degree, I am hopelessly in love with my man, who is a plumbing contractor. He did not go to college. He didn't even take the SATs. Women have these like crazy standards of like the fancy man that they're looking for, and don't even recognize that Prince Charming may be a blue collar guy that is just the man of your dreams, that just will love and cherish and protect and provide for you. Maybe they understood that better in the 1950s, because definitely in the 1950s, there were a lot less men earning six figures. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. And you can even click that notification bell so that you never miss a beat.
Cha cha cha.